Hello everyone, I'm former SEAL Team 6 Squadron Leader Chuck Pfarrer, and this is the Kyiv Post's Point of Impact. Today we're going to look at Ukraine's successful and rapidly expanding offensive against the Kursk region of Russia. A little over 10 days into this campaign, let's take a look at the offensive's daily progress and some of the critical behind-the-scenes preparations that led up to this very important attack. Ukraine's offensive officially opened on 6 August, when Russian mill bloggers, not always the most credible source, reported Ukrainian incursion of what they thought was a company-sized task element of approximately 100 combatants. Early Russian assessments attributed the attack to a pro-Kyiv militia, Freedom of Russian Legion, which was a group that was credited with previous assaults against Belgorod. But by early evening, as combat expanded, the Russians upped their assessment of Ukraine's attack to 300 combatants. Ukraine's signature weapons, FPV drones, were used against Russian command and control nodes, vehicles, and troop concentration points, resulting in increasingly ineffective and chaotic Russian resistance. The Ukrainian attack gained momentum, and early objectives started to fall. Just 1 day into the offensive, Ukraine captured the Sudza gas metering station, a critical component of the last remaining Russian pipeline capable of sending natural gas to Europe through Ukraine. This strategic objective was taken with minimal to non-existent Russian resistance, indicating that the Ukrainians had achieved an almost total tactical surprise. Russia claimed it was rushing reinforcements to the border and were actively repelling the attack. But by the end of 6 August, it was obvious that Russia was not fighting bands of militants, but was up against battle-hardened units of Ukraine's regular military, and importantly, battalions of Ukraine's highly capable special operations forces. Moscow continued to underestimate the scope and intended objectives of the Ukrainian attack. Moscow insisted it was targeting Ukrainian positions, both at the border and within Ukraine's Sumy region, but made no mention that the Ukrainian forces had actually crossed the border. Russian aircraft were filmed conducting low-level strafing runs against what appeared to be Ukrainian positions. Closer examination reveals it's unlikely that the Russian aircraft were being directed properly. In this video, it appeared that civilian, rather than military vehicles, had been targeted. The acting governor of the Kursk region, Alexei Simonov, tried to calm the situation, claiming that the border had not been crossed, even as videos of Ukrainian troops capturing critical road junctions and border towns filled the internet. In truth, a multi-pronged Ukrainian thrust was driving north on Russian highways, up the 38K 024 towards Kursk city, and northwest on the 38K 030 toward Korenivo. In a first in modern warfare, a Ukrainian drone intercepted and downed a Russian helicopter. Russian sources also admitted that a Ka-52 attack helicopter, one of Russia's most advanced, was shot down by Ukrainian man-pads, possibly a US-made Stinger. Russian forces were confused, disorganized, and falling back. By 7 August, Russian Chief of Staff General Gerasimov briefed President Putin that Ukraine's forces in Kursk likely numbered less than 1,000. He also claimed that Russian forces had killed 315 Ukrainian troops, destroyed 54 Ukrainian armored vehicles, and destroyed 7 Ukrainian tanks. Gerasimov blandly claimed that the situation was under control. President Putin obviously thought otherwise. Only a matter of hours after General Gerasimov's farcical brief, a Ukrainian missile strike, likely a HIMARS, destroyed a Russian column in the Ryinsky district of Kursk. 14 troop-carrying and logistics vehicles were destroyed. As many as 500 Russian troops were killed or injured. Later, geolocated video would confirm the scale of this disaster, showing destroyed vehicles and the bodies of scores of Russian casualties. By the 10th of August, Ukrainian and Russian sources both reported contact in the Belgorod region. Video from the front showed soldiers of Ukraine's 252nd Battalion holding up Ukrainian and Georgian flags in the village of Poraz. Ukraine was clearly expanding the scope of its operations, further stretching Russian resources, logistic, and combat capability. Only by the 11th of August did President Zelensky finally confirm the Kursk operation, stating that the cross-border offensive now involved thousands of troops supported by armor and artillery, something the Ukrainians had taught the Russians days ago. The president acknowledged that the offensive was forcing Moscow to rush in reserves and extra equipment to Kursk. These Russian troops and weapons had to be relocated from Ukraine to defend the Russian homeland, which was another benefit of this well-planned attack. On the ground, Ukrainian advances were screened by reconnaissance and flanking units, and Ukrainian Special Operations Forces operated well in advance of the main axes. Ukrainian forces are in contact more than 30 kilometers north of the frontier by the 12th of August. On 12 August, General Gerasimov was relieved of command, and FSB Chief Alexander Botnikov was named as the new head of what was called the anti-terrorist operation in the Kursk region. A career intelligence officer with little or no actual experience in training or military affairs, Botnikov would not last long in his new position. 3 days later, Ukraine claims to have shot down a Russian Su-34 strike fighter, indicating the presence of Ukrainian mobile air defense systems deep into Kursk Oblast. Russian mill bloggers report that large numbers of Russian dead and wounded are being brought to hospitals in the Kursk region. The casualties arrive in military and civilian vehicles. Ironically, these same scenes have played out in Ukraine hundreds of times since February 2022. Now these scenes of carnage and terror are unfolding on Russian soil. Increasing numbers of Chechen troops began to surrender to Ukrainian units, and many of the Chechens are from the Akhmat Special Forces. Ukraine is not only capturing thousands of Russian soldiers, but some of Russia's best equipment as well, including at least 5 of Russia's best T-90M main battle tanks. At the time of this report, Ukraine has captured more than 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory, taking in 1 week more territory than Russia has been able to capture in Ukraine in 8 months. It's no exaggeration to say that the infowar aspects of this offensive are as important as the purely military achievements. There is no question that this well-planned, well-executed Ukrainian campaign has made Putin and his generals look bad. How bad? 2 days ago, Putin tapped a former bodyguard, Alexei Duminin, to take charge of operations in Kursk. Duminin takes over from SFB Director Alexander Bortnikov, who took over from Chief of General Staff Gerasimov, who was fired last week. 3 commanders in 10 days is not a very good look. Relieving military commanders in the middle of a battle is never desirable, and history shows us it is a sign of desperation. Clearly, Kursk is a major embarrassment for Russia. For the Kyiv Post, I'm Navy SEAL Chuck Pfarrer, and we'll see you again at the point of impact.